The next menu is the mount menu. And essentially in the mount menu, there is a command called disembark and a command that says off-road at 9 o'clock. Essentially what it is this is the command menu to board vehicles. By default, if you by context command, I can tell them to board that off-road or that Land Rover. But I can also go, like say, if I'm not near them, I can tell them to board it by going into this board menu, and objects near them they can board. So when I press off-road number 2 to board the off-road, all of them are going to board it. It gives me several options. One is anywhere, which essentially means that they'll board as driver, as gunner, as passenger. 2 is driver, which will only work with one individual soldier selected. And 3 is ride and bag. So essentially, I can tell them to board all over to basically just man that vehicle, so they can board as a driver, as a gunner, in the back as a passenger. I can tell an individual soldier to board as the driver. I can tell everyone to just get into the back of the vehicle. Say if there's a vehicle crew that is manning it, you don't want to tell them to board in the crew positions of that vehicle. So for our purposes, I'm going to tell them to board in the back. So they will board the Land Rover as passengers in the back. And don't get confused, because this is actually a British. It looked like he got into the driver's seat, but actually the driver's seat is on the what us Americans would know as the passenger side is actually where the driver's seat is on these British vehicles, which is actually a neat, authentic feature. So this guy is actually a passenger. He's the front passenger. So when that happens, you'll see them board, and if you come to the vehicle, you'll see numbers 2, 3, 4 as like a diamond shape, and then it will have numbers on it. That's which members are in that vehicle. Right, so if I want them to disembark, I can either tell them, if I want to tell them to get out of the vehicle, I can go through the menu and tell them disembark, which is number 1. Or let's say, oh damn, I forgot to put a driver in the vehicle. Let me make number 2 my driver for that vehicle. I can go through here, I can tell them, go to the off-road menu, and I can tell him driver. He will actually hop out and get in as a driver. Actually, he didn't hop out, I don't think. He seemed to have switched positions while he was in the vehicle, I think, is what happened. Let me see. Board, Land Rover, ride and back. Oh, that's interesting. They actually don't hop out and get in as a driver. They switch positions while they're inside the vehicle. So that's handy. That's actually very handy. I never knew that. So you learn something new every day. Okay, so if I want all of them to disembark, or to get out of the vehicle, I'll go all disembark. And all of them will hop out. And when they do, you have to order, when you order the disembark command, they will not be in formation. They'll just hop out, and they'll be, it will say ready. Essentially, it'll be ready to join formation, ready for additional commands, or ready to join formation, or what have you. And you'll actually have to order them to return to your formation to follow you again. Now, the other way you can tell people to board vehicles is through context command. And the default context command is to board. If you point at the vehicle, it will default to get in off-road, as you see in the menu. But essentially what that means is everyone get in every position in that vehicle. And it will assign positions by priority. So priority positions would be driver and gunners. And then after those are filled, then the rest would get in as a passenger. So, and it's generally speaking as far as I know, in a chronological order. So number one it would be the driver, or sorry, number two would be number one is me. I'm not going to board. So number two would be the driver, and number three would be a gunner or a commander, and number four would be an additional gunner or a commander. If this vehicle had guns, if this vehicle had guns, let's say this was a tank, an Abrams tank, um, or maybe like a Warrior IFV or something. Uh, there's three positions in the Warrior: driver, a gunner, and a commander position. Actually, I can show you while I'm doing this. I can actually show you. It might be better to actually see what I'm talking about. So I'll change this to a Warrior. Actually, it's armored desert. There we go. So here's our Warrior infantry fighting vehicle. And I will tell them just by clicking on that warrior, by pressing space and then clicking on that warrior with my cursor on the warrior, clicking, it says get in the warrior. All of them will board that warrior. Number two will be, I believe, the driver. Okay, yeah, number two is the driver, number three is the commander, and number four is the gunner. And they're all boarded in the warrior now. By default, when you tell them to board something, they will not follow you in a formation or anything. They will wait for additional commands. So right now I've just told them to board this warrior infantry fighting vehicle. And I will tell them to move to a position. Now you can tell all of them to move to a position, or you can tell just the commander to move to a position. The nice thing is you can actually overhear them talking when you're giving the command. So I'll tell the commander of this warrior to move in front of that hangar. I forgot you can't hear the in-game sound, but you'd actually hear them talking in their vehicle net. And if you're in the back as a passenger in the warrior, you would hear the vehicle crew talking to each other. And actually, the pathfinder seems to be a little strange because I was expecting you just to go straight there, but he's not. So that was strange. Okay. Well, anyways, that was with the warrior. I just wanted to show you that. The next thing, I think I can probably erase these. I was done demonstrating this. The next thing I'm going to go through. Okay, so I've done the mount menu.